The brand. The brand, as we see, and as you can see, it's all over the building here today. And the brand currently is very much focused on the logo, but recognizing the brand is actually going to become much bigger than simply a logo, which is what we currently see today. So the brand is something that developed over about a 2-year period, but it was actually originally, it was part of a project that Farm started about 2 years ago, and it was called the North Cariboo Agriculture Awareness and Marketing Project. It was phase 1, because without us knowing at the time, we actually just completed phase 2. And it was very much a collaborative kind of grassroots, industry-led kind of movement. We tried to involve and engage as many other stakeholders as possible, and we certainly accessed quite a bit of funding in order to roll this out. So from 2 years ago to now, well, it has taken about 2 years, and there's been a lot of hours spent in meetings, brainstorming, and kind of putting together this vision that I can't say just Farm came to realize, but in terms of meeting with the other stakeholders and whatnot, it became this project, and it was a vision that we wanted to see realized. Okay, so this is what you see today, and it's called the North Cariboo Farm Country Grown For You brand. And it's really focused on simply identifying products and services that are available in the North Cariboo. So it's not just products in the sense of raw materials or, you know, meats and eggs and whatnot. We also wanted to look at services, because services are also really critical, and it also enables some of our farms that do agritourism to also brand their products. So it can be farm tours, bed and breakfasts, and so forth. So the first thing that we did, so this is just kind of capture some of the components of the brand. We actually, and that's Lori there in the picture, and hopefully as you drove into and out of Quesnel, depending on which direction you were coming from, you will have seen these signs, and if you didn't, please look for them as you're heading out of town today or tomorrow. We actually had 2 16-foot by 12-foot permanent signs situated on private land. We had to work with Ministry of Highways, and it was discovered that putting signage on land is a lot simpler when you're dealing with private land than public land. So these signs are now up, and we worked with a local fellow who designed them, and it's been pretty incredible. The other thing we did was, another component of the project was the guide. As you will have seen in your packages that you would have all received today, there's the second edition of that particular guide. The first edition was done 2 years ago, and we've seen an increase in number of farms in the second edition, and also a substantial increase in the number of products that are incorporated into the guide. And what was wonderful, because of the amount of funding that we were able to leverage for the 2 editions of the map, or the guide, we were actually able to offer free listings to every agricultural producer in the North Cariboo that wanted one. And you know, it's possible that we still miss people, but there's an opportunity to get involved with the next one, which will be 2 years down the road. Another component of this is all phase 1, was the kiosk, which is located in Laborde Park, which is downtown Quesnel. And it displays a copy of the product map, a little display, and the sponsor logos. And what we did here, we actually approached the city of Quesnel, and we were looking at building a kiosk, and then there was an old one there that was in fairly poor shape. So we ended up refurbishing it and fixing it up, and it's become our kiosk. 2 years ago, we launched a thing called the Junior Farmer Program, which was again focused on food security. That's certainly something that I would say Farm has acknowledged and recognized. Not only is it important in terms of having local food production, it's also directly linked with health and just addressing the whole food security issues that I think a lot of us are quite familiar with. And this program was huge. 2 years ago we launched it at the farmers market, and we had 60 kids come down and participate in the launch of this program. Again, we managed to access quite a bit of funding. We got Northern Health was involved, Quesnel Community Foundation, those are the, you know, Quesnel Rotary. Anyways, there was a substantial number of sponsors that came forward and to help us make this all happen. And so the Junior Farmer Program basically involved kids coming together, growing vegetables in containers. It was very much focused on urban agriculture, encouraging and recognizing that you don't need a big chunk of property in order to grow food. You can do it on your balcony. So in 2011, we held it at the Quesnel Farmers Market. 2012, it was incorporated into a program through the Quesnel District Arts and Rec Center. And then unfortunately last year it didn't happen. Burnout, like volunteers, is always an issue. And then we're looking at how we can get it going again in 2014. So a big part of this particular project, in addition to the brand and so forth, was sustainability and capacity development. And that was acknowledged right off at the very beginning. We met with, we had 2 stakeholder meetings back in February and October of 2012. And the main focus of it was to look at how we could build sustainability or capacity in our local agriculture sector. And we tried to engage as many people as we could. We had people there from different sector groups, and we certainly involved different organizations and then agencies, governments, educational facilities, and so forth. So this particular conference is part of this whole project. The first Ag and Hort Leap was actually held in 2011, and then it was done again in 2012. Those particular conferences Farmed was involved with, but they were actually led more by the school district. And then last year it wasn't held for primarily funding issues, and then this year we were able to bring it back, because I certainly believe, and I think we believe, all agree, that there's huge value in us coming together and sharing ideas and doing these kinds of things. The other thing that Farmed has focused on was, again, under this this capacity development, was actually hosting some workshops. And a lot of our workshops, although they're very membership-based, they're also open to people from the general public, and we've had quite a bit of uptake on that. So we did a social media workshop. We've done geocaching, because it was acknowledged that was another way that local farms could promote themselves, is by getting geocaches on site. We also did a website course, so we could all better understand how websites were designed and how to maintain them. And then last May, we actually did a root cellar tour. And there's Marion from Dunster here. Where is she? She came all the way from Dunster to attend our root cellar tour. So it was fantastic. Yeah, it was great. We went to 4 different sites, and it was pretty fantastic. And for that, we actually partnered with the Baden-Powell Scouts and used their bus. And so we were able to give the scouting group a donation for using their bus. So in terms of phase 1 of the project, you can see that we actually managed to get a huge number of sponsors. And honestly, I don't think we could thank them enough. I won't go through them all, but you can see them there. Just phenomenal sponsorship from our local level. And it's because of that, it was very much a collaborative approach doing this project and rolling it out. So now on to the brand. So following phase 1, we got the signage out there, we did a kiosk, and then as a small group of volunteers, we kind of thought, okay, what next? How are we going to take this to the next level? We've developed this brand. What are we going to do with it? And fortunately, we partnered with Quesnel Community and Economic Development, and Jorlene is right over there. She's been helping us out for the last, 6 to 8 months as the branding coordinator working for QCDC. And we were able to take the project to the next level, which is why you see everything that's here in the building today. So shortly after we finished phase 1, we created a branding committee, and it was primarily made up of some farm members. And we had to ask some questions. What was the purpose of this brand? What was it going to represent? Oh, this is actually while we were developing the brand, pardon me. What would the brand logo look like? Who would use the brand? What products and services were eligible for the branding? What non-agricultural businesses could use the brand? We had to really try to be specific in terms of creating a brand that was going to work for us and that wouldn't require too much policing. Because that's another thing, is if you create a brand and it's got all these conditions attached to it, you have to be able to police it and to ensure that that brand promise, as people refer to, is actually being adhered to. So we had to keep it fairly simple. So again, this is developing the brand. So we worked closely with a local design company who assisted us in taking our ideas that we brainstormed and putting it together, creating what we see now as the North Caribou brand. We worked very, very closely with a facilitator, and that was Community Futures of the North Caribou. Greg Lawrence was incredibly instrumental in helping us through that process. And we created this brand, and we had to learn about branding. That was a big part, taking and understanding what branding is. And then we developed the brand and the brand promise. And recently, we've established a brokering agreement with Quesnel Community and Economic Development, and that agreement is good through to the end of 2014. It was decided very quickly on that farmed could not broker the brand. We don't, as volunteers, again, we didn't have the capacity in order to do that. And I've lost our slides, but that's okay. So the brand vision, you can't see this, but that's okay. Basically, the brand vision was residents and visitors demonstrate a strong preference for purchasing agricultural products and farm-based services in the North Cariboo, recognizing the quality, taste, environmental, health, and economic benefits of buying local. We opted not to put anything else onto the brand other than that. We didn't talk about, we would like to see quality. I mean, that's obviously, but we're not out there policing for quality. The main key factor is it has to be produced, grown, or have a component of that's created, that's North Cariboo grown. Okay? So in terms of our partnership with Quesnel Community and Economic Development, moving into phase 2 of this branding project, again, we've partnered with QCEDC, and through QCEDC, some funds were accessed through the provincial government's BC Buy Local program, and we also accessed some funding through CCBAC, through the Cariboo-Chilcotin Beetle Action Coalition. So those two sponsors were huge in terms of us being able to roll out these funds and this project. So plans were put into place to further develop the brand and promote it throughout the North Cariboo. And again, Dorleen was hired on as the brand coordinator. That's a great blue screen. It's really attractive. So the benefits to the producer for subscribing into the brand was the primary one being to identify your products and services as North Cariboo grown. It was something to be really easily to be identified. It was also to help market and raise awareness of products and or services within the area. There's a lot of collaboration and networking opportunities that come with subscribing to the brand. Another thing was the cluster and cooperative marketing that comes out of it. We're trying to promote one another and certainly encourage us as consumers alone to try to support those other products that are North Cariboo branded. And last but not least is creating community connections and relationships, and also obviously increasing the economic stability and the revenues that producers will realize. So there's 3 categories of our brand, and if you look up at these lovely lamppost banners that just came off the print very recently, there's 18 of them, and they will be going up in, off some of the lampposts in downtown Quesnel. And we've got North Cariboo Grown, North Cariboo Made, and North Cariboo Fun. So North Cariboo Grown is like raw product. We're looking at vegetables, fruits, meat, poultry, eggs, Christmas trees, birch syrup, and so forth. North Cariboo Made are things that have components of North Cariboo grown products in them, and those would be things like jellies, soaps, vinegars, socks, blankets, and so forth. And then, of course, North Cariboo Fun would include the agritourism experiences such as farm tours, bed and breakfasts, trail rides, and so forth. One thing that Farm decided to do right off the get-go, or we certainly looked at it, was trademarking. So we're actually now in the process of working with Business Development Centre, I believe it's based out of Ontario somewhere, to actually trademark the term grown for you. And you can't trademark the North Cariboo Farm Country part because it contains the geographic words North Cariboo, but we're looking at doing the grown for you. And what that will provide is basically it'll provide Farm with the exclusive right to use the mark in all of Canada. And as things roll out further down the road, there'll probably be some benefit to that. It's too bad that we can't see the slides, but so one of the things we discussed under phase 2 of the branding project was the signage and stickers. So it's nice to see that several of you have branded yourselves, and I see a few on foreheads. Perfect. You make a very nice grown for you there, Judy. Yeah, and the other thing we do is signage. So as you're traveling around the North Cariboo, you'll see some signs. I saw them, lots of them around today, up in the workshop rooms, but there's signs that say a proud producer, and then of course the stickers and whatnot that you can actually place onto your products. The other option, if farmers don't wish to use the stickers, they can actually get a digital copy of it and place that onto their products in terms of identification. The other thing we've got are banners and the lamppost. Well, we've got lamppost banners and then the pull-up banners, which again you can see around the venue today. Oh, there's one of our signs. And Jorlene has spent the last few months going to as many farmers market and home-based businesses, fairs and whatnot, trying to get the word out there about the brand program and letting folks know how they can get involved. So again, she set up at all these different booths at different farmers markets and whatnot. We also launched a new website. It's off the farm.ca website, and it's called grownforyou.farm.ca. But if you go to www.farm.ca, there's a link directly to our brand site. So in order to access the brand, you don't have to be a farm member. This brand is bigger than farmed. And I think that's really, really important to let folks know. If they live in the geographic area, they can still access this brand without actually becoming a member. There are definitely benefits to being a member. I'll just add that little plug. The other thing is there's a mural downtown, so you're going to have to drive by the mural because I can't show it to you today. But if you go by Good For You Market, which is on Legion Drive in downtown Quesnel, just around the corner, not very far, you'll see a beautiful mural that one of the local artists did. And she's taken multitude of different photographs and merged them into one. And it's got, the sponsors are labeled just below the photo. I can see it. And, but definitely a drive-by, and we've tried to, it was challenging, but we certainly tried to capture as many of the agricultural products as possible. There's also a couple of farmers in there in the photo, and a sheep and a cow, chickens. Anyways, Lee did a wonderful job. She's the artist that pulled it all together. So currently we have about 23 members of the North Cariboo Grown For You branding program. This particular brand is also available to restaurants. Most of the people currently involved are farmers, but there's also an opportunity for restaurants to get involved. Basically anybody that's willing to or wants to use the brand in some kind of a capacity. And there's an application in order to access that. So as you can't see the slide, I think it's really important to let you know who our sponsors were for phase 2 of the North Cariboo branding project. There was the CCBAC, which is the Cariboo-Chilcotin Beetle Action Coalition, farmed obviously. And then another one is the Cariboo-Chilcotin Coast Region Tourism Association, and then the Province of British Columbia, and then the Quesnel Community and Economic Development and Quesnel Community Living Association. It's on the side of their building, the Good For You Market, where the mural is located. So, where to now? It doesn't stop here. One of the things that, again, we're kind of, we're just coming out of this big project. We're kind of, we're involved with the Egg and Hort Leap, and then it's going to be, I know this group, they're going to be back flying right at it and figuring out what we're going to be doing next. And so I think we're going to be sitting down and discussing where we are going, but there's been a few ideas that have thrown around all together. One of the things that Farmed has discussed is increasing the recognition of brand throughout the North Cariboo. It's really important to a lot of us to get the brand out into our rural communities. The geographic area that is within the North Cariboo that Farmed looks at goes from Barkerville to Nasco, from Hickson down to Soda Creek and out to North Cosley. So we'd like to see that brand on farmers' gates and letting folks know that they're producing local products. The other thing is increased opportunities for brand recognition. See an increase in the number of producers that subscribe to the brand. We're currently sitting around 23, which I think is pretty great considering that's been about 6 months. Increase the number of restaurants that subscribe to the brand. We currently have 1 restaurant that has come on board and will be planning to incorporate local food onto their menu. And developing relationships with the grocery stores. And those could be local, regional, large or small, chain or independent. And there's definitely an interest, and it's interesting too, following what Ed had to say, Ed Walker, is there's definitely an interest and a push and a need to see more local food. And this is a way that people will be able to easily identify local food when they go to the restaurants. One of the things we've discussed is having a North Cariboo Farm Country Grown For You food festival, kind of a farm to plate, field to fork. Maybe it'll be farm to chef, if we can scoop that term. This coming fall, perhaps, or summer or fall. The other thing that Farmed has decided to do, I can't believe we've done this, but we have, is we've started a new not-for-profit organization that's called Growing North Cariboo. With all the wonderful things and benefits that Farmed has been able to do, there's some limitations of being a sector-based marketing organization. And we'd like to enhance the linkages between local food and health to create more sustainable communities. So this other organization that we've created, which is kind of a sister organization, will hopefully be able to address some of those other opportunities that are out there. And one of the things that has been discussed, there's been no decisions made on it, is expanding the brand outside of the North Caribou. You know, maybe taking it into the Central Caribou, South Caribou, maybe into Prince George if there's a want, need, or desire to do that. That's something that has been mentioned, and so it might be something that's worth exploring. So on my last slide here, I've got a bunch of I got a lovely photo below the mural with several people holding signs, and what it says is, "We're growing for you." And I should hold it up so you can all see. Let's see if I can put that in there. Oh, there we go. So you got a nice little picture here of some farmers growing for you. Thank you.